then they kind of learn it again across a few weeks. It is mid lane priority is necessary. You cannot just gank bot lane over and over if you're not controlling mid. So this matchup, MLXG and Xiaohu versus Trick and Perks, will be so important for the early game.
Of course, G2 not just fighting MLXG, Xiaohu, and all of RNG, but all their fans here in Wuhan as well as we enter picks and bans. Xayah Gragas taken off the board. Jarvan Kalista, very standard from what we've seen so far.
I do like the Jarvan ban as a response to the Gragas, because it felt like RNG were really looking for a proactive jungler in particular and another jungle mismatch. Stylistically, these two players, MLXG and Trick, are polar opposites in terms of style. We can get into the nitty-gritty later in the cast, but we expect MLXG to play around his lanes almost exclusively, and denying him options is important for the side of G2.
RNG doing G2 a bit of a favor by banning the Iron here because we
no faith.
We need to see G2, or we need to see Trick on a more aggressive jungler. We can actually have an impact early because he needs to be able to match MLXG. You can't just sit back and farm versus this guy because he will just get his own lanes ahead.
I hear he's a sick Nunu.
He does play Nunu. Sick Nunu, I'm not too sure. We don't want to see Nunu either. We need something where Trick can gank or counter gank so that Perks in the early game can get some help. Talia is available in this game here. She's been banned in some of the other ones. Galio as well, if people want to play these champions that can... God damn it, G2. Whatever, play these champions who can move around from mid.
All right, well, aside from Deficio's crushing disappointment for all of Europe and specifically G2 esports at the moment, the Nunu still has not been locked in, although I feel like they were doing that just for you.
The best thing is they can't even hear you, or us.
They know.
It looks like it will instead be the Lulu first pick. Much more standard from what we expect. Strong, aggressive, pushing support paired with the power of the Ardent. Very standard bot lane for G2.
And will it just be something like the Twitch Janna as the response, given that Janna versus Lulu was almost cemented?
Or the Varus coming in from Uzi if he wants a stronger laning phase. And Varus with Janna to protect him in fights and build the Rage Blade is also very, very good, obviously.
That would be the respect choice. This is Uzi, though, and the Vayne could certainly be around the corner.
Yeah, or the Twitch.
That was the likely one that I mentioned.
Okay.
So.
And here's the thing. If you're watching this matchup as a fan, you don't want to see Varus versus Tristana. You want both late game scaling carries. You want both of these guys to have the potential
you realize
to go off.
That you suggested that Uzi go on containment duty. No one contains Uzi.
Hey,
Uzi...
you can carry as Varus. You can win your lane.
But Twitch, oh, it's so much sweeter, and it's a very nice answer to what we have in the late game.
All right, so we're getting something now from Trick that can actually match in the early game. MLXG, even on Sejuani, you would think, he's just going to farm to level 6. No. I've seen level 2 ganks, level 3 ganks, level 4 ganks, level 5 ganks. You need something that can at least apply pressure. That is what the Rek'Sai will bring from G2's side. Also works against the Twitch.
And it would be Clearlove-esque if he went the Cinderhulk build. We've seen both Warrior and Cinderhulk Rek'Sai played pretty commonly at this tournament. We'll see the rest of the draft will really suggest. In the ban phase, it's been almost purely mid lane focused. Of course, Galio can flex to the top side.
And now the opportunity, G2 are going to get the last pick, but they're not even worried about it. They're saving it for top lane. Perks feeling confident in the mid lane rise.
We saw it yesterday as well. It is such an important pick in this current meta because it's a good laning phase where there's not really any matchup that shuts you down, and then you have that ulti to move you and your team around the map. This is really the game where we're hovering some of the,
This is really the game where we
picks.
wonder if people can hear Deficio. Both the Nunu and the Vayne hovered. Not going to be the case, however, but the Jace getting locked in so frequently banned away.
And this is RNG saying, expect, can't take it in a carry matchup. That's part of the Jace. I'm thinking it's going to be top lane Jace. No, it's not. It's actually the mid lane Jace.
Oh, interesting. A lot of physical damage then from RNG. G2 looking to stack as much armor as possible. Wonder if they're going to play pure tank in the top lane for that reason, or if they want to just counterpick the Maokai. Trundle is there, Gnar is there, Nasus is there. I got to say that.
Shen also a possibility when it comes to a containment lane and also an armor stacker.
But for Expect, getting his hands on the Gnar, it's a good look for him. Likes to play those more carry-oriented styles, even if he can be the tank for the team.
And let's take a look at the lanes here, because you have top lane counterpick for G2.
Yep.
With the Gnar taking over that lane at least later on. Bot lane with the Lulu Tristana, we've seen that already beat Twitch Janna as well.
And interesting here, Xiaohu has not played Jace at all this summer. Deciding to bring it out here against Perks, against G2 Esports.
To me, Trick is the really interesting heartbeat to follow in this game, because 2 out of 3 lanes, priority goes the way of G2 Esports. And if we can see a vintage jungle performance here, an aggressive one from the side of the Rek'Sai. G2 have a lot of options in the early game, the late game. That's also, when you talk about the single damage type, one that G2 should be pretty comfortable in.
Obviously, they will be facing double tank on the side of RNG, and then a Twitch who can sit behind them with a Janna to protect. So it is a tough late game to play against. It's only really Xiaohu who might struggle to have a lot of impact there. Obviously, on the side of G2, a lot of it comes down to execution then with the Mega Gnar. And Rek'Sai is tough to play later on as well.
Sure.
You're more or less just soaking damage.
And for me, big question mark is Trick in the jungle on the Rek'Sai continues to be, because he's never been the aggressive jungler since the departure of Graves really from the meta. Was much more comfortable when tanks first arise. It was him who first really picked up the Sejuani, made it his own, started to bring G2 back up in the standings. Now having to be the one to set the pace in this game. We enter our final game of the first round robin, and you can hear Wuhan fans of the LPL, all of China feels rallied around RNG in this game. 3-0 could be their score if they find the win here.
I mean, expectations around RNG are skyrocketing. You look at the players and all of them phenomenally individually talented, but it didn't mean enough for them to win LPL Summer. A lot of these members have been together for a while now. Greatness has not followed in the way you might expect. But until those wheels come off, until we see them lose a game, you can't help but look at RNG like a real contender for more than just this group, but for the world's crown itself.
For now, a lot of it is going to come down to the early game. Will they make it to the late game stage? Will the scaling of the comps even matter that much in the end, or will this be blown wide open in the early to mid game?
Keystone's a flash, and look at Trick. He is actually running Fervor, so he's gone for a very aggressive Keystone choice here. Cinderhawk's so it's not Cinderhawk, I should say. Courage has kind of fallen away as a choice for the Rek'Sai. This doesn't necessarily tell us Warrior or Cinderhawk, but it's notable nonetheless.
Yeah, I think Fervor, it's been the standard at least for most of the junglers lately, and obviously Trick will be able with this Rek'Sai to actually play around perks in the mid lane. Jace is bringing Cleanse though to try and defend himself.
And this is why it's a real fun thing to talk about, because you look at the numbers. We mentioned MLXG and Trick are different. If you look at jungle proximity, the team jungle proximity for MXG, the amount of time he looks for ganks, well, 47.6%. Very, very high. First at Worlds. You then look at his mid lane proximity, first at Worlds. Get Xiaohu ahead. Let Xiaohu influence the other lanes. Consider that it's actually G2 that have drafted what we've seen so many times. Rek'Sai going in after the instant snare from Ryze. So it's trying to fight fire with fire, but it's not the usual mindset of G2.
Yeah, again, that's the funny thing about G2, because they will have these weeks where they don't want to gank mid at all with Trick. But then when it really matters, especially in playoffs, after they struggle against Splice in the quarterfinals, they learned for the semifinal and the final that actually we should just play around mid lane. And suddenly Trick started being around perks much more. They started camping the lane. Obviously, it's something again that goes up and down. In this game, I am expecting him to pay attention to this perks lane and try and get the Ryze ahead, because when you're winning mid, you can roam first to the bottom lane, and when our sensors are completed, you can time those roams with the big power spike and you can start taking down towers.
And it's surreal that it's G2 with that combination, though. You said Misfits with the Ryze, Rek'Sai, you certainly believe it, but so many mid lane options available. If you don't see mid lane ganks, that would be a surprise in itself.
Interesting now, entire top side clear comes in for Trick, not opting to take the blue buff. Does, as a Rek'Sai, have the option to donate that away to perks, maybe set him up for further success, but would cost him heavily in experience.
One thing I want you guys to take away, Twitch Janna was the choice. It is Relic Shield from Uzi. Uzi earlier this week was actually going much more laning. Doran's Blade, Doran's Shield, the laning choices, so he's actually opted into the more difficult 2v2 and also the Relic to help his support.
Let's see if G2 have done their homework on MLXG, if they're expecting any early ganks. He's looking top very early. This wave is pushing towards Let Me, so expect will eventually overextend, but because Trick cleared his entire top side jungle, there is no camp for MLXG to take while he's waiting for Expect to push the lane.
But when he sees the top side of the jungle is completely cleared, he lets, of course, his team know that bot side is where Trick is at.
They're calling back, yeah, we don't care, we're sitting at tower, dude.
Fair.
Stop talking to us.
Unfortunate state of the match. Of course, Targon's not necessarily an item, or rather Relic Shield, to win you your lane. Lots of gold generation here for Uzi, but he knows his place in the early laning phase, just waiting to scale up.
I just want to talk about Cole then on Sven a little bit, because I often see people say, greedy, or wow, how can you win lane with Cole?
Disrespect.
That's so weird. Yeah, exactly. The thing about Cole is, especially against Janna lanes, if you don't need an 80 HP from a Doran's Blade, the Cole is basically just as good, if not even slightly better for early laning, because you get 1 less AD, but you get 3 HP per hit, not 3% lifesteal. So you actually get more sustained back with the Cole, and of course, the gold.
I mean, if you're Sven, you look on the other side, you see Sejuani, probably not going to be ganks early. You see the Twitch Janna know that they're going to be on the defensive side. Janna very rarely auto attacks in lane until the changes on 719 forward. So at the end of the day, there is almost no risk to Cole, so it's an intelligent buy, and it really is a good read of the game.
Yeah, exactly. When you lane against Twitch, very often you get hit a few times, and then you get a poison on you, and you're never really going to get bursted down. So again, flat HP is not that important. It's more actually about sustain against Twitch lanes, as you can see here. A few hits going back and forth, and that's about it.
Sven and Mithy definitely willing to commit the cooldowns here just to try to get an advantage in the lane, but of course Uzi doing a very good job of keeping up in CS, matching the pressure so far. Cole, the really only difference when it comes to gold generation, although the Janna will get a bit more, and MLXG is making his way to the bottom side.
That's what I love about him. He's so creative in his pathing. He's finding a way down to the bottom lane. Will the lack of 80 HP cost Sven or not?
Forward, has a bit of damage, but he has committed to the trade. No polymorph burn, has used the shield. MLXG is such a patient hunter. He's looking for his prey. Sven walking towards the bush, has to be careful. The dash going to be. This man is waiting so long, but G2 are meanwhile making a play on the top side. Trick is here, Perks is here. They have the point click CC. They can't keep this going. Magnard's on the way, but I don't even think they're going to need it. They are burning through Letney, but the healing is coming in. The double jump coming out, and that's going to be first blood, but it's traded back.
Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, MLG just backed away. I was waiting for the camera to cut down for another fight. We've seen G2 now try multiple times to go top lane early with Perks and Trick. Expect had to give up his life for that one.
It was almost perfectly done, but Expect did not transform into Meganar. And when you see those turret shots, it was about 5, it was ramping up. It felt like it couldn't have overkilled him by that much. So good attempt by G2, but trading in a 3-for-1 scenario and losing a mountain of turret HP is certainly not ideal for G2.
Exactly. Expect is also saving his teleport because the minion wave was so close to RNG's tower he could let it push back. So that is available for potential fight on the bottom side. But let's see the dive again here. Let me know, stay near the tower, gets the CC down as well, and knocks Expect back in towards his turret as well.
250 damage from that last shot this early meant the squishy Gnar could do nothing. And if we see Jace take the mid lane turret, hold that thought for a moment. So Trick is following Let Me, Rice around.
Moving in, does not have the ultimate available. Sejuani nearby, MLXG not too concerned, but they see him on a ward.
But think of the flow on. Jace takes mid lane turret. We know how much damage he can do to turrets when he's left to his own devices. Then you see RNG switch Twitch and Janna to mid lane. There's not going to be any way to really pressure that 2v2 if they see the mirror coming through from G2. Rai's going to have less space if he's going to pop in the side lane to make the map plays. In terms of tempo, losing mid lane turret actually sets G2 behind more than a lot of team comps.
And we have to remember, this is not a team you want to lose any kind of tempo, any kind of advantage against. Because when we saw RNG up against Samsung, we saw how quickly they can close out a game, how confidently they can close out a game when you give them absolutely anything.
That's the thing, they have so many great stats. On the screen here, we have the gold difference. They have been so good in the post 20-minute mark, finishing these games early, to the extent where another stat I can give you, we talked already, BDD, first week done, no deaths. Xiaohu, Let Me, and Ming are all deathless this week as well. So when it gets going, when the going gets good, sorry, for RNG, it works well, as Let Me's first death did come in this game.
But now we look on the bottom side, maybe Trick will make his presence known here. Already did some work on snowballing the top side. For now, Expect actually pretty comfortable to keep trading, but Let Me not giving him an easy edge.
Yeah, basically what G2 tried to do was kind of push this Gnar matchup forward. Because we know Gnar later on in the game, especially with Black Cleaver, would be so annoying in the side lane. They wanted to get there faster. They try to deny CS from the Maokai and get some damage on this tower because they know eventually Expect will kill the tower if they just leave him now in a 1 versus 1 and they can start looking towards the bottom lane. Ardent Sensor not completed yet, but we're getting close.
He's here on the bottom side, looking for the Prey Seeker Connect, not going to find any purchase. Not a big enough wave to force a dive, but the tower is getting lower and lower.
And this is just from 2v2 laning here from G2 Esports. Sven and Mithy with a very good matchup. This is why Varus could have been an option for Uzi to have a better lane. He took the Twitch, and he's paying for it at the
Flash
moment.
forward, the chain CC on the top side. Quick flash out from Expect. RNG hoping to get something back. Don't even know that the Dragon is being taken away from them as they speak. G2 poised to take the bot lane tower as well. Xiaohu is moving up to the top side, but it may not matter. Tower first blood gonna drop for G2. Nice early boom.
They're looking to trade up in objectives. It's taking a long time for RNG to match turrets. That's with the Drake already cemented for the side of G2. So G2 will have their first option. They can send their duo lane to the top lane, but probably going to be a dead turret to dive.
Leaping forward, has the level 6. Expect is now in trouble. He's just going to go down. No reason to contest there, but Perkz is running into the mix as well. Gets the flash out. Tower not going to go down easily. Meanwhile, the G2 bottom lane is moving into the mid lane. They're trying to double down on their advantages.
Wow, they actually managed to defend it. That was a greedy play from Expecto and very good punish from RNG.
But it's big if they're able to actually force 2v2 and get a free turret. That death, working out whether it's worth it is so difficult, but at the end of the day, being able to force 2v2 on G2's terms is big.
Yeah, very big for now, but if RNG in the next few minutes can return to either mid or top lane, they can get a lot of gold back. They lost a bit with, of course, the Maokai dying first, and now this play up top here where they kill Expect but not the tower. They're so close to taking down these objectives, however, and cashing in.
Tempo in the early game here is so important as Perkz doesn't force the flash away from MLXG. If RNG could have taken mid lane turret, waited till Hurricane was done, which is done now, and put Twitch and Janna in the mid lane, that was the gold standard. When you see the Tristana, you know that G2 are looking to get the big turret lead themselves. They already have equally low top lane turret.
And this Hurricane Rush Twitch is something we've really seen a lot of now during Worlds. And it's simply because you will have the Ardent Sensor and you will have your Fervor as well on Twitch here. So you don't actually need early AD to still deal some proper damage. And it does give you a bit of wave clear.
Things looking pretty good right now for the G2 bottom lane. The analyst has highlighted the mid lane. It's definitely going to be crucial, but we see the first Ardent coming in for Mithy and Sven. And Sven versus Uzi is somewhere that you have to
mid lane.
look. At the moment, it's more about Perkz and Trick. They're moving forward. Let's immediately burn Xiao, who's going to make it out.
Both summoners used though. No sustain available for Uzi. Not even the paper sustain that comes through from the Keystone Master that can be taken there. The offensive Fervor choice.
And look at this here. CS difference at 15 minutes for Uzi is 9.1 normally. In this game here, he's down almost 20 CS. He's lost his bot lane tower. This top lane tower will die soon as well, but that was a good trade.
Important to note, that's not necessarily Uzi sucking in lane. It was a reality of the matchups that have been taken, but certainly a feel-good stat aside G2. They can take aggressive trades because of the on-hit lifesteal on the Ardent Sensor. And the RNG dream of mid lane, pushing fast with Hurricane, then roaming with the Titch invisibility, is still impossible.
And RNG has been committing to the bottom side with 3 members and letting G2 take this tower and start the Rift Held. MLXG is moving in towards it. I want to see if they... No, they don't even want to stop it. They're just going to give it up and hope that Xiaohu can take mid tower.
And it's not an accident that Sven is flashing the G2 Esports logo every time he takes an objective in the face of Uzi, 30 CS up. Uzi's temperament is something that is known to every watcher around the world. And if simply pressing a button and once again getting in the head of one of the legendary AD carries in the history of League of Legends is working, then he's doing his job.
Has to be frustrating for Uzi right now. You look across from yourself. The Cole is now finished up. Sven's got the extra gold. That means a static ship. He can push anywhere he wants to on the map, and the next target is mid lane. One tower at a time. G2 grinding this advantage out. Twitch still at a single item, not the major threat he needs to be.
Exactly, and the fact you have lost so much damage on your towers doesn't matter if they're still alive. And with G2 continuing to push and apply pressure, well, RNG are currently sitting with 0 turrets. That's Rift Tower coming in the mid lane. Will not instantly kill the tower, but get a bit more damage on it.
There to tank it for Sven. MLXG waiting over the wall. Sven has to be careful. No cleanse effects to get him out to safety if he needs it. MLXG looking to start. He does manage to find it on Sven. Sven is not out yet. He's leaping to safety. He gets cut down mid-air. Nice pick off by RNG.
They will turn onto the Rift Tower. They will not lose their mid turret. Sven pushed up, felt like he had enough coverage with the Rek'Sai right behind him, but it did not work out.
Let's see what RNG can get in return now. 10 seconds on Sven still. Mid lane tower low. Top lane, no one is there, but bot lane we have Let Me pushing at the moment. Getting a bit more damage on that turret. RNG so badly want to get this gold here so they can get Uzi towards that Infinity Edge.
but the ult already burned from Sejuani, not going to be able to force out mid lane tower. The wave clear is here. Luckily for them, the Jace now with the Youmu's. Easy for him to cut through this tower if he's given the opportunity. MLXG is here as well, and that means RNG are going to grab their first tower of the game.
And we review what we talked about in picks and bans. There will be a time when G2 Esports can stack armor and feel good. That time is not now. Get to watch the mid lane as well. Sven walks up, not expecting MLXG from the ramp.
It's a great engage from MLXG. You can try and flash away from it, but you gotta be ready in the second it happens. And if you're just delaying a little bit, you will get hit and you will die.
You can see he feels a bit
That's your
perturbed.
face then.
Definitely Sven face, but with G2, remember also that for RNG, okay, the armor will come in for G2, but when you have a Jace, honestly, it's much more about damage to structures, and that will never fall away from the side of RNG. So stopping the bleeding of immediate gold. If they find themselves on equal gold footing, even get 2 picks, turrets explode to Jace Twitch. They hit 2 items on the Twitch. Team fights at this point, before Gnar gets real armor items, are still going to be explosive. So RNG really are focused on not trading down at any point in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, they did lose that mid lane tower during the replay from before here. G2 now pushing in the bottom lane. Drake is spawning in a few seconds. They should be able to just kill that one very quickly and start going towards the next one. First, a bit of damage on the bot lane tower.
Trying to siege up. G2 definitely at the edge right now. Infernal plus a 3k gold lead at 15 minutes. Looking pretty good. Only 1 kill to their name on perks, but just the structure and gold giving them so much. Now a Cloud Drake should be theirs to take for free. What are RNG going to get back in exchange? For now, it looks like topside jungle vision.
That is a correct play from RNG here, just cross map. You can give up this Cloud Drake if it means you kill the top lane tower. You want gold right now, you don't want Drakes.
Exactly. Gold, getting those items before armor can realistically be balanced with damage is RNG's goal right now. They will make very quick work of this top lane turret and also get that insurance with the advanced vision that no Baron players can come through from G2 when it spawns in about 4 minutes time.
Hypercharger cuts through the tower. One of the big things we always talk about when we look at teams getting a lead, the hallmark of great teams is being able to come back and being able to snowball a lead. Well, we're waiting on RNG to come back to even things up. But for G2, who need to prove themselves in this game, if they want to make it out of the group, if they want to prove they're worthy of being EU LCS's #1 seed in the world, they need to show that they can turn this into more than just a few towers and find a much bigger advantage.
It's tricky to do that when easy objectives like outer turrets are taken down. The 2 Drakes definitely are a credit to G2, but engineering multi-step plans to get deep vision against a comp with Twitch and a Sejuani that has already surprised them is more difficult than you'd expect. If he's in the mid lane wave clearing, sure, you have eyes on the Twitch, but getting the sort of vision that Samsung were frustrated out of in the last game, the 2 wards on one side to actually be able to push up and take inner turrets will frustrate G2 unless the Realm Warp can be the equalizer.
Exactly, like pushing all the way down to a tier 2 tower this early often means you won't have vision on both sides because there are 2 jungles you gotta ward up basically at the same time, and you gotta then keep that vision control going while you're sieging on this objective, and it's almost impossible to do, so that's why teams settle for just pushing the waves towards and past the enemy tier 1 turrets and then get river vision and wait for Baron to spawn. So this is often where the game just kind of slows down for some minutes.
Now, the flashy play du jour has been the Ryze Zhonya's ultimates so far this time. We've seen a lot of them. Zhonya's, obviously, the armor portion going to be great against RNG, but that does mean that Perks can kind of copy Crown yesterday, who bought a lot of time, split pushing alone, and then having an almost guaranteed escape, and maybe that, drawing on multiple members will allow them to
Look at this here, RNG, they want to fight.
Versus debate who's either one who could be in trouble. Ultimate's going to come out. Perks has to cleanse and flash immediately to safety. Mega Gnar is here, but he's going to turn mini almost immediately. Does not want to complete the teleport. Pressure on the bottom side, but RNG in control.
You get such a good play from them. They just remove the Maokai from the bottom lane. They don't want to sit and just split push against the Gnar, and they force a fight mid to try and take down the tower and force the teleport from Expect here. This turret is so low, but RNG, they're playing it very safe and stepping away.
Don't want to risk giving anything else up. Expect is already pushing in on the bottom side. They know the importance of gold, but farm equally crucial to the tower gold in a lot of circumstances.
And I think we both, officially, have to step back and say it's a light touch from RNG. This is not over-aggression. This is not over-forcing in a line ball game where there's clearly only about 2,000 to 3,000 gold advantage. It's not the RNG we saw in the LPL. I love seeing them be smart and just forcing out objectives and not diving in for a fight, not over-pursuing. They're just using the tools they have right now to the maximum and forcing G2 into really bad situation.
And taking tools away from G2, the cleanse and the flash gone from Perkz is massive before we even have the Zhonya's completed. No get out of jail free card, no easy escape for Perkz. If he does get cowed out, you're on a side lane.
And it's once again G2 waiting for Baron to spawn and waiting for the next Drake to spawn at the same time. It should mean Uzi gets his Infinity Edge before that big objective is here, currently sitting on only about 400 gold. So there's still a bit of time for G2, but obviously rushing down a 20-minute Baron is not exactly easy.
I mean, the game stalled out, and if you consider what we're seeing on our screens, Sven walks up, pushes a minion wave, Twitch gets all the waves, all the minions. So the outscale duo, and both Twitch and Tristana obviously strong in the late game, but Twitch Janna as a duo, I believe, very, very, very powerful when it comes to the current meta, is getting equal CS with the Tristana that was snowboarding, that was dictating the pace of the game just 8 minutes ago, and that's ideal for RNG.
So it's important now that G2 are ready for Baron to spawn so they can start putting pressure there. Not necessarily rush it down, but put pressure, and that's basically by putting down these early control wards and then deep vision in the enemy jungle. So now, RNG constantly have to think to themselves, they could be on Baron. We gotta stay around, we gotta maybe go in and try and face check and see what's happening. And that does give openings for G2 to either get a bit of damage on RNG or maybe start a full-on fight.
RNG do get to play their side lanes. Maokai has the teleport advantage. That's what you expect, leading with his face.
Gonna pick up the blue buff as well. Important to take it away from the Jace, not the tier Jace of old. All lethality and armor penetration means he can run out of mana very quickly in a fight. Now a 2k gold difference between them. G2 maybe hoping for some Mountain Drakes instead of the Infernal in the Cloud, but still a good look.
And it's so many small steps now, because once you get down your control wards in that river near the Baron, you can go into the enemy jungle, get a bit of damage, maybe steal a camp, and then you gotta reset. You gotta go back to base and rebuy your new control wards. So while the enemy team is coming in to kill your current ones, you return with new ones instantly and get back to control.
I think reset's a great word, because resetting expectations is actually relevant just to item spikes in this game. I read this that if Infinity Edge, which should be completed soon, comes in, then I think teamfight-wise, RNG win true 5v5s until the armor comes in later. So reading where the game is at is very subtle in this particular matchup.
So now we just saw RNG there kill the wards away from the Baron. G2 saying, we don't care, because we know you have to go back to base now and buy your new items and get your new wards. And then G2, if they want to, can just walk straight back in, get the new control wards down, and you have this little dance happening until a team is strong enough to actually kill the Baron itself. Mythic playing it very safe, just placing a ward over to check if anything is happening.
But there's no tank on the side of G2. If they want to start this Baron, who takes the damage? Rek'Sai, a decent option, but it's definitely not the Maokai.
Lulu shields with a Rek'Sai, the stacking armor is enough to sit in front of Baron.
And I love the dance, because League of Legends is a dance. It takes two to tango. I love how right now we're getting to the point where the dance style will suit RNG. When Infinity Edge now complete, I feel like right now they win fights. When the slow dance comes, when the late game comes, armor items will be there for G2. So it's so subtle, but where the pendulum swings right now, I feel like RNG, if they get a 5v5, they're gonna gleefully accept it and go straight 5v5.
Terrifying prospect, especially now with Uzi finishing 2 items, having the Jaina, the AD steroid, much more impactful than the little procs of picks on the side of Mithy. They got the early lane control, it got them their lead, but now there is a difference in what the supports can bring. As we move later into the game, Trick fighting hotly for the blue buff. MLG will take it away. Be careful though, Let Me is here. Expect coming in along the backside, but has Let Me overstayed his welcome. Expect coming in, multiple members gonna get CC'd up, but the route has been blocked. That means Sven has free right to approach onto the back line. Let Me still alive. Trick is actually the one who might just be in trouble. He has the flash out, safety trying to hold on. Sven knocking back the team. Disengage comes out.
So right there we see a few flashes being traded and heal as well used by Ming. Cloud Drake will once again go over to G2. They would have wished for something different, so that more scaling to go forward, but you can't always get what you want, and they'll have to settle for 2 Cloud Drakes and a bit more movement speed.
And it was a team move by Uzi. I don't think you really felt like Quadra Kill was coming out. He was ulting to allow his tank to actually get away. They don't want to give away inner turrets that so far G2 have been frustrated at trying to pick up. They get the Drake, that means they have a backup win condition later, as the Elder Dragon's going to be basically full power, 4 to 5 stacks, probably the 4, given when the timer was taken. Things reset though, no significant advantage yet to G2 after all their great early work.
Exactly, and then when there's no Drake alive, we go right back to the same Baron dance we saw before with trading control wards against each other. Trick losing that flash though is pretty big for RNG, because that is the main engage right now for G2, unless Expect can find that big opening.
I'm just feeling giddy to Fisher. I saw some people watching this saying, where are the kills? I thought it was promised kills.
RNG
I was promised
here.
kills, to be fair.
but we're getting closer and closer to Uzi and Sven 5v5 fights, Xiaohu and Perks 5v5 fights. The inevitability of the Ardent Sensor meta. In some games, it can be a drag, but in this game, I think it will be something beautiful. So it sucks that right now we don't have them, but no team is making mistakes. Both teams are playing very smart. Waiting for the main event. It hasn't come yet, but the undercard, it's looking good.
Now, of course, a small boon for G2. While they may have given up some of the advantage that they held early in the game, they still got the Dragons, and of course Frozen Mallet now coming in for Gnar as well means it's much easier for him to be a source of pressure for the G2 lineup.
It's an important little thing that Uzi is doing very often in this game. He's not instantly showing himself in lanes, and when you play against a Twitch, especially as a Gnar who wants to split push, you constantly need information on where he is on the map, because otherwise he might sneak into your lane with the Maokai and just kill you in no time.
In a different game, Jace takes the mid lane turret, Twitch with Hurricane goes mid, pushes the wave, pulls back. Where's Twitch? Where's Twitch? Could be anywhere on the map. That's the big thing that Twitch, when he can go mid lane, allows you to do. You can see right now, actually, Twitch walking through control wards, making his way to the mid lane. Uzi continuing those headaches for G2, but he'll show himself soon.
Now moving in, MLFG thinks he's found the engage. Trick has to back off. Sen gonna make that safety, but there is no flash veil for Trick. RNG are looking to punish, but one more tunnel is gonna take him out to safety and stop the fight in its tracks.
We have right now Perk sitting in the top lane, so RNG feel confident forcing the engage. No flash from Trick still. Perks will get the push going, so someone needs to deal with that from RNG's side, giving G2 control of mid.
No,
actually, they want to fight again.
Twitch. Looking to get it started. Maokai moving in. That could be the pick that they need. Goodbye to Sven. RNG take control in the mid lane.
And again, the creativity right here from RNG is surprising G2. They're thinking everything is going by the book. But then suddenly, Let Me shows up once again. He's not sitting in that bottom lane.
And the defensive play works until it doesn't. No flash from Let Me, but he leapt across the screen with the Righteous Glory. With the Twitch ultimate down, G2 did not give respect to another attempt, but that time it worked a treat.
You gotta be so fast in your thinking here, because they are looking at that wave in top lane, saying, okay, someone from RNG is gonna go and kill that wave. They're not gonna fight in the mid lane right now, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, the engage happens. Look how confident they are in pushing forward. Basically saying there's no way they're gonna 5-man mid, and then they're here.
Any target would do. Hit everything onto Sven, dies instantly. That was the second round, of course. We saw the first one earlier. That will be the break of the mid lane turret. Second Sven reaction cam. He's starting to feel the pinch.
That's the confidence, and it's so hard when there's so much CC. The point click of the Maokai locking him down. Difficult life for a Tristana, especially when you've already burned things like the rocket jump.
It's also because there's been this line of control wards from RNG in their own jungle, which has allowed Let Me to move from bot lane to this mid lane quite a few times and surprise G2 Esports just due to the lack of vision or information on where he is. That was without flash. He still got on to the Tristana and forced both summoners from Sven. That is huge for the next fight, and it's forcing G2 to play more passive now and giving the control over to RNG.
It's amazing how squared up RNG have become in terms of the fundamentals of the game. The ceilings, we know all these players individually have them. The fundamentals
He's gonna get locked up, looking for more stacks. Can he get out?
Yep.
Yes, free escape with Rise.
Well, he can face check at least, so that's good for him.
Uzi will get hit there by the Brace Seeker, still invisible. Expect has to give respect to this. Rank will slow up. Frozen now, it means he's got a pretty easy path out as long as they don't get on top of him. G2 holding on. 5 members strong on both sides. Danced around this mid lane, danced around this Baron.
I really like Uzi respecting all the armor on G2, getting that early last whisper and fully upgrading it as well. He knows he already get some attack speeds from this Janna here. He's ready to take over a team fight.
And it's a different build. It's double Zeal item, the much more standard build coming through from G2, even though RNG have the stronger front line, double super tank with Sejuani and Maokai. So I think Uzi's made the read. If one of those tanks die, the rest of the team is probably going to fall like butter. So killing Expect to, of course, is only tanky on a budget. Ninja Tabi and also some flat resists. And Trick also, who's on a jungler's budget. At this point in the game, it's very difficult for G2 to move forward with limited information, and with the Twitch, that's almost always.
Now the game suddenly so even. All it takes is one more pick in the favor of RNG to balance everything out. Sven getting caught out again, twice now, and has been such a big weak point for G2. And on the one hand, you can't blame him because so much CC is coming through, but also, what else can G2 do to protect him? If he gets picked off again, it will most surely be a Baron for RNG at this point in the game.
That's why it's so tense. When both teams are this even, if one team can win a team fight and take Baron, they tend to just kind of snowball out of control, taking down multiple towers. They're sneaking in behind, but there's a ward.
You know it's there. Need to burn it down quickly. No Mountain Drakes, ready to move out at a moment's notice. See that they're spotted and just back out.
Yeah, and it might be weird, like why they're not sweeping it or why they're not putting down a control ward first there to see if there is a ward they can kill, but it's because they know they have a backup here to get out with the Rise ulti.
And they know that every point of damage needed to go into the Baron to give them even a chance of taking it down. No 4 hits onto a ward, or 3 onto a regular ward. Does mean that they sacrifice control of the Infernal, answering Infernal for RNG.
And small correction right there from my previous point. They actually placed the control ward just when they tunneled over, but it's so far back in the pit that it doesn't actually see the ward in front of Baron. Still, it is actually a play without a lot of risk because you have the Rise ulti to get out anyway.
Fair. Good that they saw RNG moving and got out immediately. Could have been disaster for G2. Talk about RNG with the potential to take Baron while stealing it away while you're stuck in the pit. Definitely not where G2 wants to be. They will, of course, spot out the control ward and tunnel there as well. Trick spotted by the Sapling, and just both teams continuing back to the Baron dance. And interesting that we find ourselves in this position at this point in the game. Sven versus Uzi, it feels like, for one team fight to win it all, but Xiaohu may be looking to make his mark.
And I also want to talk about the difference between a Maokai and a Gnar in these fights here. It is much harder for Expect to have big impact. He needs to time his jumps, his Mega Gnar, his ulti, almost perfectly to have the same impact you're going to see from a Maokai who can point on click on a target and then apply a ton of follow-up CC very easily right after that.
And when you equate, honestly, Gnar and Maokai as champions, Gnar is definitely tilted towards the laning portion, the ability to auto with the Hyper and the Frozen Mallet in a team fight in the ideal sense. He'll do maybe a little bit more as the 5-man Gnar from Hornster than Let Me, but the reliability and the fact that he can get in there with the new ultimate and do work means that Let Me, really, if he's forced in fights, the true 5v5, if RNG initiates them, how can you expect to have everything in order to make the same sort of play?
Yeah, because G2 are now feeling weaker here as a 5-man unit for the reasons we highlighted, they're giving up the control. They've had to, like, their comp got ahead in the early game. They could have tried to push even deeper down towards the tier 2 towers, but we talked about how difficult it is in the current meta to do it. So they were kind of waiting for Baron, and it bought time for RNG, and now RNG have taken control.
It feels like Ryze is the only champion that can kind of push past the mid lane, because we know that the river has been littered with control wards, and that control ward line is a you shall not pass sign for what we've seen from G2 in the past 10 minutes.
Interesting position they find themselves in. Xiaohu splitting up, pushing that wave. Meanwhile, Expect pushing on the bottom side, but not confident enough to push any further than that. Starting up a slower push, ready to move back to the team. Not looking to play to the side lane, just ready at any moment to fight that 5v5 alongside his teammates.
And it's all just these small wards being placed in the Baron pit. That will only last you so long if you're RT2 esports, because eventually you will have to walk into this river without any vision and risk RNG opening up with a Twitch out of nowhere, just destroying your backline.
Approaching a second Zeal item as well. Uzi just gets scarier and scarier. Sven may have had control in the early game using the demolitionist properties of the Tristana. But now Uzi in the late game, the unknown factor of the Twitch, where is he going to pop up? The ability to hit multiple units feels like it just gives him such a clear edge in these fights.
Both to engage and also to get safe Baron vision. RNG have to find a way to park deep wards in the red side jungle of G2, something they have not been able to do. Last ward was on the Raptors, just cleared on screen, so that does continue to extend the game. Finding a way to pull that off is going to be difficult. If they could take the inner mid lane turret, Baron becomes so much more straightforward for RNG.
Or if G2 can find a way to get vision control in the Baron pit itself, make sure there are no wards from RNG, they can still use this teammate to blast cone over the wall into the Baron pit and use the Rise ulti to get out again in case RNG show up. There are ways to unsurprise them. They're actually going for a fight instead.
Burks moving in, looking to pick off MLFG. He's quite tanky, but the whole team is here, ready to find a pick onto the jungler. This could be the Baron, but he's going to make it out. Now they're trying to turn it. Uzi on the backside. The assassin switch. Expect has something to say, but he's already out of the fight. He's been knocked back. That is a massive win coming in for RNG. Perks firing back for the side of G2, but with Sven already dead, there's not a lot of options left. Uzi's cleaning up house. He's looking for a triple, but Xiao who's the one to bring it home.
One of the first times we've seen Uzi skulking around for a team fight. He finds it on his turn. Mithy dies with everything up because he dies in an instant. RNG being chanted around Wuhan. They're going to get a lot from this, RNG.
No time for the Baron, don't even need it. They have an inhibitor in their sights. They know the death timers. They know what's open to them. They're gonna break open the base at G2. 34 minutes it may have taken, a losing early game, but RNG is in control.
And they're gonna take both the sides here. You think 2 inhibitors is very possible. Still 5 seconds for Sven.
See, let me and the rest of RNG.
Being respectful.
Definitely very respectful. I actually think going for the base made sense to say, you know what, it's not about forcing a Baron fight because we want to have a Baron fight. It's more about getting an objective here. But we see G2 notice that Jace was near the Baron pit, so they thought they could take a 4v5 team fight, but they lose track of Uzi. This is why it was so hard for G2 to ever push forward, and they just die instantly. Uzi even got a few hits on this Sven.
And it's just absurd how much damage the Twitch is able to do at this point in the game. Uzi feels untouchable. When G2 aren't prepared for him, everything falls apart.
And we haven't seen this Twitch that often. Oh, G2 straight on Baron.
MLXG 3K drop, and the ulti is going to go in. Who's going to take it out in the end? G2's going to get it, and they get out with style.
Well,
Quick call.
That's a different one. That's a cliffhanger change right there.
Everyone from RNG, after they took down that tower, just recalled, went back to base, and G2 rushed it down. Had to accept the risk that MLSG was in there, could maybe even get it, but G2 burst it down, and they felt behind. They felt like they had to do something crazy.
Hey, when your back's against the wall, sometimes you got to flip a coin. Sometimes you got to take a chance, risk it all. But G2 able to secure it, able to get out, and suddenly the game is even, or at least feels like it once again.
Well, we're going to get another fight now around the Elder Drake. Uzi, 4 items fully completed and a QSS. We saw the damage in the last one. A few crits, and Sven or Mithy, they're both dead. They're finding someone.
Yomu's looking to pick off Mithy. They saw how easy it was last time, how squishy the Lulu was. That he'd like to be. Uzi going in. Perch is in trouble. Does he have the Zanyas? Doesn't even need it. Is going to get healed up by the Redemption, but the ultimate not available for Uzi yet. It is, however, on the way. Expected he gets locked down before he can go Mega. Could be everything. MLSG takes so much damage. Meganar leaping in. Who can he throw back? It's Uzi into the wall. That's a 3-man. Not going to be able to find much else. Spargo's throwing play activated. Sven free hitting onto the backside. Uzi going off where he can, but G2 is cleaning up the rest of his team. He's been zoned out of the fight. GA proc for Zhao. Let me doing what he can. Expecting to forward. Mini Nars on the way. Locked up. Zhao trying to turn it back onto Mithy. Perch not going down yet. Uzi is alive at full health, though. He has returned to the fight.
He is
but
ulted out.
RNG has to back off. He's waiting for the ball. He's trying to turn it. Double kill coming in from Sven. He's going to back off as well. Both 80 carries living through the fight.
Uzi was holding on and waiting for the spray and pray. Did not have the movement speed or the ultimate available at the same time, and thus was not able to open up in a manner like he wanted to. Very good from G2. The moment the first auto attack with spray and pray came through, everyone backed away. No value for RNG.
Exactly, Sven just shot Uzi away out of range with this one. MLXG was the man who got caught at first because RNG was splitting up. They tried to take down Perks, no ulti from the Twitch to actually do it. G2 now with 3 Drakes will also get the Elder Drake. It's a big turnaround for them.
Still a minute and 20 seconds left on Baron. 4-stack Elder Drake, 180 bonus damage. Next fight for RNG could be do or die, but it's going to take G2 to siege. It's going to take G2 to dive. I don't think they're going to take the risk.
Still got about a quarter of the Baron buff as well, so bringing up the minions, hoping for at least an bot lane turret. Push up for that. That seems pretty risk-free.
RNG picking their battles. Doesn't look like this is going to be one of them.
They can't know that Jace is on blue buff at this point, so they'll be respectful G2.
Now a brief pause, a brief breath before our next big fights. 40 seconds left on the Baron. Elder Dragon buff still powerful, but does not just let you walk through an inhibitor tower for free.
And it's fun to see the difference in fights here. Sven are forced to hit the tank in front of him, and he needs enough time to take down that tank. While Uzi, because of his ulti with Twitch, can actually sneak around as well and then hit almost everyone on the side of G2. So Uzi, much more of a threat for the entire G2 team. Sven just about one target at a time.
And note that since we saw Uzi delete members, Warden's Mail, and a Bramble Vest, also the completed Randuin's for Trick, so the tankiness...
Look at Uzi's up here.
Again, he's trying to pull back. Perks hungry for the play, but not going to move too far forward. Knows he'll get out damage in the pure 1v1. Uzi at a terrifying point in the game.
We also can't forget the battle of the mid laners. playing adjacent late game team fights, it's very, very difficult. You are so squishy. When you jump into melee form to deal proper damage, you just end up dying very quickly. We saw Perkz in the last fight find Xiaohu, take him down first. That is going to be a problem for RNG, so they're going to rely on Uzi's damage. Let's see the fight again.
And this is the first time when they turned on to Perkz, so they could burn him down. He doesn't die, and G2 actually gets access to members. It's been impossible for them before. They've been denied actual fights where they could take the lead, and this time they turn to MXG, and RNG a bit all at sea.
Exactly, MXG using his dash to deal a bit more damage was really not smart, so it meant he couldn't get out of the fight. Right here, G2 cannot get onto Uzi. He's so far back. Triggers are buying time, but they're on to the Jace instead, and then the Maokai right after.
Sven may not be an AoE threat, but closest target he can deal with. You cannot imagine how frustrated Uzi was when 300 to 500 health members were lining up. He did not have ultimate until just now, and wasn't able to get the maximum value that he would have just a moment earlier.
Heal burn just for the movement speed steroid. A nice input buffer there from Sven to get out of the CC coming in from MLXG's ult, but we can see the story of this game in this damage graph. 80 carries are king.
Two of the best 80 carries in the world fighting against each other. Everyone else here just trying to help them, trying to set them up to succeed in this game.
Now it becomes a lot about the Baron again. Spawning in 2 minutes, RNG will push up mid. We talked about late when G2 could actually balance damage with tankiness. Feels like we're getting closer. Still could be some magic from Uzi, but G2 can stack armor confidently at this point.
Except for Sven and Mithi.
Sure.
Not really able to get enough to make a big difference. So if the Twitch is not under control, he will get to them. Constant information and communication about where did you last see Uzi, where is he moving in this fight. G2 Esports will struggle to 5-on-5 hard-on engage if they don't see the Twitch first.
And you also take your steps, right, the Fisher, when it comes to control wards on your flanks. They can be skirted around, but you can do your best to deny Twitch getting access to the backline. Shouldn't happen when you're fighting around the areas they are. They're sitting next to their inhibitor, waiting for information. They don't need to be further out, so why walk up if you're G2 and risk the rat ruining your day?
And it's just insane how much impact a good Twitch player can have on a game. Because it's not only just in the late game fights. Early on, we talked about how Expect was afraid when it comes to pushing his lane too far because Uzi might show up in stealth with the Twitch here. If you don't have control in at least 2 lanes that are pushed far down to know exactly where the 80 carry is, it stops you from playing very aggressive on the map. And a lot of credit to Uzi and his performance so far.
Small note, Ming wasn't able to sweep the one ward around the Baron there that you can see on the mini-map. That was something that maybe Uzi will walk over if he's looking for a flanking position. Probably safer to stand behind your tanks, and Uzi is spotted here. This ward has not been seen.
Uzi on the way. Second that Baron spawns, Twitch can cut through it quickly. The whole team is there to back him up.
Seen now.
Will get spotted out. They know they're in control of the pit, but they still don't know where Uzi is. Not even going to auto-attack the ward. No need to reveal himself. G2 feeling not so confident in this movement.
And G2 is staying still in the mid lane. They gotta move fast here.
Well, they group up in that funnel. Twitch can just let it rip and cut through the team, but RNG aren't going to set that up. Not worried about it. Just want to play the slow game, looking for a juicy opportunity.
Very large wave in the bottom lane that Ledme will have to go down and kill as well. Not a problem for him as the Maokai. Important that RNG killed the blast cone behind the Baron, stopping G2 from using that to get into this pit again.
And that's the cool thing, is that an objective for them, honestly, was killing the blast cone. Not usually, but now you can only go one way with the Rise ultimate. The Realm Warp will take you in or out. You will not have the blast cone and then the ability to Realm Warp out. And that is pretty significant. This is another thing that RNG doesn't have to respect.
And I like the fact that Sven is going Essence Reaver in this game here. You need cooldown reduction for your Q. You want to have that bonus attack speed as often as possible in the fights. Another one as well is his ulti. Talk about it after. Baron is started. Let me coming from behind.
The MLXG is here. He's just down at the front line. Xiaohu dishing out as much damage as he possibly can. Leads to the pit. Redemption is there to back him up. Baron is dropping, but no one is taking it yet. They're backing off. Uzi's going in. Expect needs to go mega, but it's too little too late. Uzi is cutting through G2. Expect finally going to knock Uzi to the wall, but it does not matter. Perkz get out for free, but it's G2 who pay the price.
It's not a penta, but it feels like one. The crowd knows how big that was. The inhibitor already exposed. Deficio with his hands up. Uzi did it again.
Exactly. RNG saw G2 start the Baron and said, thank you very much, G2. You're lining yourself up for Uzi to just kill you. So easy for him to get that quadra kill and take down the entire G2 Esports lineup.
Hertz grasping at straws. RNG bringing it home. Might not even need the minion wave to close this one out, but they've got one just in case. It was a rough early game. G2 outmaneuvering them around the map, but they did not lose hope or focus. RNG reminding people why they are the representatives from China, showing us exactly what they can do and cleaning up their week with a 3-0 performance.
This is a Royal Never Give Up unlike no other. Smart macro, game winners in multiple positions, and in a meta where you shield an AD carry, one of the greatest to ever hit the rip. Wuhan explodes, Royal Never Give Up, 3-0 up, and looking outstanding.
They just wanted to get to late game. They just wanted Uzi to get 3 items. They didn't care about the armor stacking on some of the G2 members. They knew Uzi would find the correct positioning to hit everyone.
People talk about bold predictions, people tweet them out. I don't think anyone would have said that RNG would be played better team League of Legends. I'm not talking about sick outplays, smart macro League of Legends than first Samsung Galaxy and now G2. We thought we understood what RNG were, and they're taken out of that box and suddenly in a league of their own.
Patience so many times, not doubling down, being happy, just getting a flash and a cleanse in an exchange instead of committing for a full
blast
5v5.
cone.
Getting a blast cone.
What's important?
Those little things that make the difference. And this is not the team that would go in on a 5v5 opportunity. They saw the goal deficit. They knew what they needed to play towards, and they waited, and they were patient.
And we got to turn it over to G2 as well. We see some of these issues we've seen before where it becomes too slow.